I'm Shelley Lynch. I'm the FBI Public Information Officer for North Carolina. I want to go over the order of who's going to speak today. We will have Chief Robert Helton, ROBERTHELTON. Then we will have Jason Kaplan, who is the FBI Supervisory Special Agent, JASONKAPLAN. Then Chief Welch, Phil Welch from the Gastonia Fire Department, PHILWELCH. We also have Eric Hendricks with the Gaston County Fire Marshal, ERICHENDRIX, and Chief Ramey with Gaston County Sheriff's Office is here.
I'm Rob Helton, Chief of Police, and I'm heartbroken. Our community's heartbroken, our searchers, our investigators. This is not the end that we had hoped for. Maddox Rich, a beautiful young man, blonde hair, blue eyes, out walking this past Saturday with his dad, walking around the lake, looking at turtles, doing the things that a young man would do. And this is not the end that we'd hoped for. Still, a lot of unanswered questions. Still, a lot of things that we're going to need to do on our end and on our side to answer those questions. But I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you this week for your help and pushing information out with our search. Our community for coming around us, and to all the law enforcement and public safety and volunteers that came in and helped us with this search this week. I don't think we would have found him without these efforts. Our support this week has been phenomenal. I've lost a lot of sleep this week worrying about Maddox, but I've not lost any with what we were doing on our side. We were doing everything that we could, and I've never seen a larger response in my 32 years in this business than what we had here with this search and effort. I'm going to turn it over to Supervisory Special Agent Jason Kaplan, but I just really want to thank the FBI, the SBI, and all of our public safety, all of our folks, all of our search folks that just came in and were with us this week.
Thank you. I'd just like to start off by saying that that currently we have found what we believe is Maddox in Long Creek. The FBI's evidence recovery team and the USERT, which is the Underwater Search and Evidence Recovery Team, are recovering Maddox. His father and mother were notified, and I'm very proud to say that the FBI special agents and victim service specialists who were there in conjunction with Gastonia police detectives to let them know before they heard it anywhere else that we believe that we have found Maddox. And I think it's reasonable to say that it's him, but some time will pass before we'll be able to say that definitively. I'd also like to say that the investigation is not over. And you should not take away anything from that, except to understand that in law enforcement, we will not take anything for granted. So there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of people that have lost a lot of sleep and are committed to continuing to making sure that we answer every question that we can about where Maddox was how his movement occurred and how it was that he ended up where he did. And that means, as you've heard us ask many times, that we still want to hear from the people who were in the park that day. There's been a lot of information and speculation about the family of Maddox and about other individuals, but the truth is, we need to know as much as we can about the movement. And we do not move forward based just on what one person or another person says happened. There's a lot of information indicating that Maddox was where the family indicated he was, and that his movements were what they indicated. So we still ask, as we have for this week, and many of you have called, and we appreciate that, we still want to hear from the other people who have not reached out to us. Please call the number we've given previously and contact us and let us know about that. And the last thing I'll say about the search efforts, which have been impressive, is the chief and I saw Maddox, and it is absolutely amazing that he was found. And for anyone who doesn't have an understanding of just how difficult what we have asked the search and rescue efforts to do is, I don't know there's a way for you to understand, but it was extremely difficult to see him even when we were standing right next to him. So I just want to say thank you to the community for helping. Thank you to the media, really, who has been so great to get the message out, because it has been extremely instrumental in helping us understand what happened. But there's an immense amount of work that remains to be done, and we will continue to do that. So thank you very much. Turn it over to the chief.
Thank you, Jason. I'm Chief Welch, and I'm here to tell you what we did today in regards to the search. Much like most of the other days, we had many people out. We had 180 today. Numerous methods of searching. We were primarily concentrating on the marshy area that we have been in, but today we put searchers in those areas backed up by rescuers to pull the searchers back out. The area we found Maddox in was about a mile east outside of the park in Long Creek. That area, I will assure you, had been searched numerous times. We had used drones in that area. ATV teams were in that area, and Foot Patrol prior was in that area as recent as Tuesday. I know you most of you were here yesterday and saw our heavily concentrated efforts here closer to the park to clear that. So we went back outside of the park perimeter again today. The crew that found Maddox was a crew of 15 searchers of various occupations, firefighters, law enforcement, others. Actually, the sighting of Maddox was from a searcher who was walking down the middle of Long Creek, and his partners were up on the banks. There is no sense of accomplishment here today. There's grieving down at our command post. One question that had arisen earlier was, could Maddox have been swept from Rankin Lake into Long Creek while we were lowering the lake levels? The discharge area has a screen there, so that's not a possibility. We don't know where Maddox entered Long Creek, whether it was closer to the park, or you may have heard me say earlier that there was a pathway if he would have approached that, and he could have walked under 321 in a future greenway area. I want to say thanks to our partners. Our local emergency management ran the operations of our search program. Tremendous support all across the state of North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. We had specialist teams in different days doing different tasks. The FBI was there again today with divers on the water. So as this process has been ongoing for all these days, the different disciplines have been working very hard. I think we're ready for questions across the panel.
Chief, how deep was the water?
That Maddox was in, Jason, do you?
Well, I think there's varying depths. Based on what I saw, the depth of water was probably only about 2 to 3 feet, certainly able to walk through, and then maybe towards the shore, maybe about a foot.
Is there any sign of foul play?
I'm sorry?
Is there any sign of foul play?
But I think it's a little bit early to say that. I mean, that'll be something that we'll look into, but I think at this point it's very preliminary to start determining that.
You found the man in the white truck. You said you were looking for a man in a white truck earlier in the week. Have you been able to locate that person?
The man in the white truck, we have not located that individual. Once again, I'd like to emphasize that we believe that's a witness who might have seen Maddox for the last time.
At this point, what is your investigation looking to answer right now?
I think all the same questions that you're probably about to ask me that I won't be able to answer, but effectively, where did he enter? How did he get there? What was the manner of death? What was the cause of death? Was there any crime that was committed, or are we simply looking at an accident? And those are very difficult questions to answer, but they're questions that we will answer.
Jason, you said that it would have been really hard for you guys, even standing there. You're surprised that you found him, even that you did. Why do you say that? Describe the scene a little bit more for us.
The question about how difficult it was to find him. I don't think I said I was surprised. Quite frankly, the effort was impressive, and I think what was impressive also was just how camouflaged he was. And so I think there's not an appreciation when a description goes out for someone in an orange shirt who's a vibrant young boy, and then to understand just how difficult it is to see such a small person when they're mixed in such a harsh environment.
What about the area so camouflaged?
Well, I think the environment is effectively what a lot of us have seen. A lot of you have been out here for a long time to see it. And what we're talking about is underbrush. We're talking about natural strainers. And what I mean by that are sticks and logs that have fallen from windstorms, and they collect a lot of debris. And we typically in water rescue, we call those natural strainers. So those are the types of things that you find in this case.
Was he in the lake, or was he in the creek, or was he on the side of the creek? Can you get more specific about where you found him?
He was in the creek. He's in water.
Underwater.
He's partially underwater.
There's a lot of fencing around that park. Would it have been possible for someone to walk there without hopping a fence or going underneath the fence?
I'll let the chief answer.
Yeah. In that area, it is possible. That's a future greenway area, and he could have stayed along the path, which is right on the banks of Long Creek.
The tip that came, one of the tips that came in to help locate him, we were hearing it came from a registered sex offender. Any concerns with that, or any?
No, I don't believe that's true.
You said you had been in that area before searching earlier in the week. Is there anything in particular that led you back to that area, or was it just kind of the rounds that you were doing?
It was, I guess I could say it was the rounds. You would not believe the number of times we've been over and over the same areas. We were searching on the presumption that he could have moved around. You know, if we search this area, he could have moved around during the night or something. So we sent new teams in. You may have heard me say earlier in the week that we had new eyes every day in the same areas. So we were back in that area. One other method I failed to mention a minute ago was kayaks. We had 2 separate kayak teams that had been through that area. In fact, I think you may have seen pictures on the police department site.
Have his parents been able to see him?
They have not, but they were notified very quickly. We wanted to try to notify them before they heard it in another means, but they have not at this point.
Did you speak with them? I mean, we can all understand how they must be feeling, but how were they?
We went to the scene, and we're at the scene and wanted to make sure the parents were notified very quickly. We saw media arriving shortly after us, and we wanted to make sure that we got someone to them very quickly. So we had someone from the FBI, somebody from our department, go very quickly to the mom and the dad and to make notification.
What steps do you have going forward to answer some of those questions you referenced earlier?
Right. The full investigation is still underway. We're still going to continue to look for folks that were at the park, retrace all the steps, retrace that creek bed, and look along through there to see if we can find where maybe he entered down there at the water. Still a lot of unanswered questions, still a lot of things to answer, and a lot of the questions you have, we have as well. So
He did see a medical examiner in Charlotte.
the park will remain closed until we can answer some of these
It does look
questions.
to you, though, from what you're seeing right now and what you found today, it does look like he may have walked from the park to this location.
You know, I don't think we could say that with certainty. You can walk down that way along the path, along the greenway, down towards 321, but I don't know that we can answer that question.
Would
at this
he have
point.
had to walk under a highway too, you said? There's a pathway that he would have had to walk
There's a pathway that leads down towards 321 from the park. Eventually, that will connect uptown. You know, it'll go all the way up to the greenway that's presently beside the police department, and will connect to uptown. You can walk distance on that, and then it kind of ends there right now. So,
What is the time frame for the ME to process matters?
time frame for ME.
Did he have all of
Yes.
his belongings, his clothing, his shoes, everything intact when you found him, or were any articles of clothing or anything missing?
Yeah, I really don't want to get into all the particulars of that, and it's early for that to be answered.
Can you answer if there was any trauma to the body?
I don't know the answer to that either.
Is he still in the
Jason,
creek
could
right
you
now?
say approximately what's the distance between where he was last seen with his father and where he was found?
You know, I could only estimate that maybe, maybe 3/4 of a mile.
Not even a mile.
You're right.
No, it's over there.
Over a mile. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Is there a way to get there aside from
Can you say that again? I didn't hear the answer to that. 3/4 of a mile?
a little over a mile.
Just a little over a mile.
Is there a
We
way
can
to
tell
get
that you're
there?
emotionally, I mean, everyone here has gotten choked up as they answer us today, but tell us what today has been like for you.
It's been tough, and you know, this is the end that we hoped we wouldn't find. We really put a lot of resources and a lot of effort, a lot of energy into this because we wanted to find him healthy and okay, and return him to his parents. And this is what we have worried, could happen. And it's been a tough day for everyone.
Well,
For
Maddox
all
have
the
cut to come in.
investigators and the rescue crews, will they receive any kind of opportunity for counseling? This is emotional for you, but I'm sure for the hundreds of people who are
Certainly, we will be arranging that, and there's been some response to that already.
we've had a chaplain.
We had a chaplain arrive shortly after.
Did it appear his body had been in the water for seveal days?
I don't want to get into the details.
Last question.
Well, Maddox
Can you
have had
guys
to come in through
elaborate
the
on
park
the
to get there.
investigation at all? On whether anyone has been given a lie detector test at this point? Have you identified any people of interest? Can you just elaborate on anything like that?
I think that would be a mistake. Unfortunately, we've had some answers to the questions that we've been asking for a long time, and there's so many unsettled answers. And as you are all aware, we have to be cautious because we'll know a lot more in the next few days, in the next few weeks, and the next few months. But we will not. This is not the end for the investigation. This is simply one more step to getting the full answers that we need to get. Thank you very much.
Is this officially a criminal investigation?
We don't anticipate any additional press conferences moving forward. We don't anticipate any on-camera opportunities right now. In the coming days as well, we will push out any additional information via email and the Gaston Facebook page, as we have all week, and as well as on the FBI Charlotte Twitter page. Again, thank you all for your help. Not the outcome many of us wanted, but this investigation isn't over until we know how he got there and what caused his death. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.